Hey everyone, welcome to the Converge webinar. So I'm going to invite my panel to come here and join me. So I got Steve Creer. Steve is joining us from the Moorhead, Minnesota, kind of the Minnesota Fargo line is probably the best way to describe it. And then I've got Colin Outerbridge. Colin, you there? Let's get your video and
Hey, I'm here.
excellent. So, Colin, church planter in the Orlando area, just down the street from us, and there is no doubt that we are in a very unique time to watch our world move forward and the unique challenges that are presented to the local church. And in the midst of that, church planting is even more susceptible because a lot of church planners, like you all, are in portable situations, um, don't have necessary access to get in and out as you may have once had. And a lot of church plants at the same time don't have the continuous longevity of building rapport in their community and with people, and that often sets a benchmark when it comes to the finances as well, where maybe they have some coffers set aside to be able to help them with that. So I want to take some time and we're going to just talk through a little bit about what you're doing, what you've seen working as you've talked even with other planters in the area. And for those that are tuned in, welcome, special welcome to each and every one of you as well. There's a little Q&A button at the bottom of the page. And we're going to take some time and answer questions that are relevant to you as well, of what you may be facing or challenges that you're trying to work through. And so feel free anytime during the conversation, just write any question that you might have in that Q&A button, and then we'll kind of go there from there. So Steve, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you begin? Just tell us a little bit about this past weekend. What did you all do? How did you pull an audible? And tell us a little bit about your unique situation and where you do church.
Yeah, so we are portable. So we're in a movie theater, and our movie theater doesn't allow us to use their internet, and that's just their policy on what we do and whatnot. And also, it's an older movie theater too, so it's just kind of a nightmare for any kind of signal coming out of it. And so, the first 2 weeks ago, we're a church of about 420 or so. And so 2 weeks ago on Thursday, they were like, hey, if you're over 250 people, you can't meet. And so we're like, oh, okay. So we got an iPhone and a tripod, and hold on, I just kind of shot a quick message about what was happening, why it was happening. We put our stuff out on our church management software. We can send emails out, Facebook, social media platforms, and say, hey, we're going to be online. And we had to do that in 3 days. And that was just nuts. And so, 2 weeks ago was on an iPhone. And then this last week, we were actually able to go into our movie theater and record a service. So we don't do live. We recorded on Saturday, so it can kind of be edited and put up. I know a lot of places are doing live, and that's great. Our facilities and what we have to work with, we can't, and so not in a way that's really effective. And so we decided to do a recorded service, and it went well. Actually, it was received really, really well. So
Fantastic. Colin, same question for you. Tell us a little bit about your situation and what did you end up doing this past weekend as well?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Thanks again for having me. So we're in a portable situation as well. So both of the locations that we utilize, we have two different contracts. Both of those contracts have been, placed on hold. So we're not allowed to be in those spaces because of their liability. And like you, Steve, similar situation, gatherings of 250 or more simply can't meet. And so our big kind of decision as a team has been thinking about if we need to do this in perpetuity or for a time period longer than maybe any of us would hope, what's the consistent version of an experience that we can provide people that they can come back to every single week and feel confident they can share with their friends and connect with in community, regardless of what size of gathering we're allowed to do in the next couple of weeks. So Lee, for us, what that's looked like is pre-recording everything, having a host, having a time of musical worship, a message, and then a song at the end as well, followed by a closing time by our host as well, and trying to keep the format of our Sunday morning gathering as much as we can, but organizing it in a space that we think is connected to. We're confident we can shoot in this place consistently. We can deliver the same level of quality when it comes to video and audio, and making choices really around what can we do consistently, week in, week out, without killing our team or our staff, or setting an unfair expectation for the people that are on the other side waiting to have a Sunday experience with us online.
Fantastic. Now, what did you guys both choose to use as your streaming platform when it came to the Sunday experience? Colin, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so we used two platforms. We used YouTube Live and Facebook Live. And so while the services were live, in terms of the way that people were experiencing them, they were pre-recorded, and then we had individuals in the comments sections navigating and hosting those dialogues. So we used Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and then had it on demand and on replay after that. And we saw really great traction, good connection, and a lot of engagement.
That's great. How about for you, Steve?
Well, first I'm going to take notes from what Colin did, because that's a really good idea. We use Vimeo. We just put it up on there. We just put it on our website, and then we promoted on Facebook. Okay, click here. Here's the link. And then some of our life groups, our small group ministry, watched it together via Zoom, and other places. So we're trying to figure out all this as well too. But I think what Colin said was really, really important, and this is something that we did too, is like, we want to be a consistent voice in the middle of chaos. And so anything that we can do to help it be as normal as possible is kind of our way. So, our sermon series, like we're just continuing on. We're not, there's enough to worry about. And so we're going to continue to believe that God is in control of when we were planning 6 months ago. So we're just going to continue to move forward in that as well. We want to be as normal as possible so that they can have a chance to connect.
Yeah, I know for us in our church plant, we use the Life Church online platform. Worked really good the first service, and then it crashed during the second service. And I saw Facebook Live as well had some issues on Sunday. I don't think either or one of them were planning on millions of people around the world live streaming at the same time. But I know both of those are great platforms as well. So I appreciate you sharing that. I know one of the challenges that I think planters are facing at this point isn't necessarily the leadership when it comes to weekend experience. I think most of us can figure that out fairly quickly. I think the bigger challenge that all of us are facing is, okay, now I figured out what I'm going to do, streaming from my living room or streaming from this spot in my community park. But what do I do when it comes to leading during the week? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Where are you finding wins when it comes to engaging your community internally, like within the church during the week? Steve, I'll let you start.
During the week, we right from the get-go, we want to be a church of groups. And so like our small group ministry, we're really leveraging that. Now, I don't know where everybody else is in terms of that. So I don't want to be like, well, you should have done this or could have done this, but in the future, do these kinds of things. But whoever's on your leadership team, if you're multi-staffed pastors, like I told my worship pastor this last week, I said, listen, you're going to be way more pastor than you are worship. This is a time for us to lead in terms of caring for our people and pastoring them. And so if you have a call list, if you have, checking in on people where it makes sense, if you have vulnerable people in your congregation, just to touch base with people, your sermons, do the best you can. And with all these other things going on, I know, but I really employ your people because there's a lot of people that want to be an encourager. In fact, on a video, I just said, hey, if you want to be an encourager, just email our office and say, hey, I want to encourage people. We'll give you a list of 5 names. We'll give you a list of people to. So that's just, it was like, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know how long this was going to last, but we decided, let's just get something out there. So that's one of the things that we've done.
How about for you, Colin?
Yeah, John Maxwell has a really good leadership conversation that I would encourage people to take a look at about leading in times of crisis. And I think it's just really practical insights. And one of the things that he says in it that I would kind of recommend that we hear is he says, communicate judiciously, not continually. And I think that's really helpful right now. People are getting so much content in their emails, so much content on social media. We want to be present, but we want to be present with meaningful content when we bring it to them. And so my encouragement to folks that are leading here is when you're going to pull the trigger on something that you say you're going to do, make sure that you can deliver on it to the best of your ability. Our credibility right now really lies in our ability to say we're going to do something and execute on it. And so if that means a slower response, then give a slower response. If that means, hey, snapping a photo of your volunteer team, if you're a church planner, gathering together on Zoom and saying, hey, we're excited about new opportunities coming your way, do that before laying out, what platform you're going to use, unless you know that that's the platform you're going to use. That's been, I think, saved us a little bit. And we've had some good leaders that have kind of even held me back from communicating things until it was ready to go. And I'm really grateful that we did, because some of those things just didn't work out. So when it comes to, I think, leading during the course of the week, you got to know who you are. And I would encourage people right now to lean into what your natural gifts are as a leader. So if you are a gifted communicator, leverage that through social media and allow that to be the point of contact that people have with you. If you are a gifted relational leader, and that's really how you've built your first, core group of people in your church, then that's call lists, that's text messages, that's engagement. And either way, you need both. I think it's about knowing which one you are and then building a team around the opposite one right now, because I think it's an air war and it's a ground war. Our presence online is really important. And then our individual touch on the ground is a make or break thing. And I'll add one more thing to this. Tell stories of people in your church that are doing incredible things to make a difference in the community. Connect those dots as much as you can. People need positive energy in this season. And the more you can tell short stories, the better off you'll be.
Great advice. I know one of the conversations I had with our church staff team was we need a 90-day game plan minimum, because I don't think this is something that's going to, all of a sudden we're back to normal right away. And even when we're back to normal, I think it'll be a slow trickle back in, because people are still going to be nervous about the potential of getting sick. And so our expectations have to change a little bit. Where are you finding success, or what are things that you're trying to be creative and innovative when it comes to how you're going to do discipleship, or how you're engaging the community and evangelism that other listeners here could benefit from hearing?
Here's where I'd say that we've seen some good progress. I really do think getting as many of your groups digitally as possible, as fast as possible, is important. But I think you've got to cast vision to your group leaders as to why they really are the hands and the feet and the leaders of your community. And so what that looked like for us is I sent a specific email just to our community group leaders with a ton of vision in it before we even touched the how. And so if you haven't done this yet, my recommendation would be you've got to start with your leaders, because your leaders are going to model for the rest of your church what is expected during this time. So the model that we've employed is, how are you doing? Here's what we're working on. Hey, here's why you matter to the success of not only this church, but of the opportunity in front of us to reach a lot of people who are unsure about their future. And then the last thing we give them is how. Here's how you can be a part of that. And internally, so I don't know, this might be interesting. You guys might have different perspective on this. I'm learning and have no idea. Never been in this situation before, right? We're kind of in the framework of, hey, we've got a 90-day plan, because I think you're on the money, Lee. If you're thinking you're going to be back for Easter and that's kind of what you're gunning for, I would encourage you to rethink that perspective. What's the 90-day plan? But we want to lead 2 weeks at a time. So as a leadership team, we want to know what we're doing for the next 90. But for our second level of leaders, our key volunteer leaders, we want to give them that information 2 weeks at a time, knowing that there's a degree of flexibility that we need people to have with us. And so I would say, from a discipleship evangelism perspective, Zoom has been core for us. We got as almost, I think all of our groups are up on Zoom and are going to be meeting this week. And then we're creating unique touch points during the week. One thing we're doing is we're using the Dwell Bible listening app. We're doing a 30-day listening plan through the Psalms, and then people on our staff will jump in, or our volunteers will jump in to do at least short kind of Bible study reflection times during the week. But we've got a lot of room to improve in that area, I would say. But those are some of the things that we're doing that people might want to steal and use and borrow, and it's all open source at this point.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Colin. How about for you, Steve?
Yeah, I think, so in terms of discipleship, I 100% agree with Colin of just saying, judiciously, not constantly, and what you put out, make it the best that you can make it. And the reality is that your church, has a vibe and an ethos of how they go about doing things, and just continue to walk down that. There's 8 million ideas out there to do it. And it's really easy to get overwhelmed or discouraged. And you're like, well, I can't do it like that. I can't do it like that. And yeah, you can, but that's okay. And so pick one or two things. We have some people in our church who really like, we actually just signed up for Dwell today. So the Dwell Bible app, YouVersion is free as well. There's lots of great reading plans available. And one of the things that we're really leaning into in this time is that, really helping our people on the discipleship side of going, this is your opportunity to really deepen your trust in the Lord. And so some things that really develop trust are spiritual disciplines. So things like giving is, we can really, learn how to trust the Lord and continue to be generous even in times of crisis, but also Sabbath rest. Like, what does it look like for you to rest as a family? We live in a culture that does not rest well at all. And God is giving us some really unique opportunities and then really for us to reevaluate as a church, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And the simplicity of all this. I talked to a lot of church planners in Converge Heartland, because I'm in that area working with a lot of church planners over there, and they were talking about how do we make discipleship simpler through this. There's a great resource called Real Life Discipleship. That really helps people do one-on-one. It's a workbook, and so you can really just walk people through it. Sharing stories of, reaching out to people. Blesseveryhome.com is a prayer thing that you can start praying for your neighborhood and street, and just sharing those things, keeping it in front of your people. Like, so whether it be a YouTube video or a Facebook or even a post or whatever, just saying, hey, praying for my church today, or praying for my city, or praying for my neighborhood. If you want to know how to pray for your neighborhood, sign up here. We do not have to reinvent the wheel in this. There are so many great resources out there that you can plug into, like YouVersion, like Dwell, like Bless Every Home, that you don't have to create the framework. But we also are going to do a devotional twice a week. We're not going to do 5 days a week. We're going to do twice a week. And some people in our church love to write their thoughts about the scriptures. And so we're just kind of letting people do that as well. Obviously, we're vetting those things before we put them up online, but, because that's our job as shepherds. But I think in terms of those things, just reaching out to people and constantly keeping the stories in front of people. I don't know if you know Heartland Church in Indianapolis, but Darren Shesky, his stuff that he's putting out is just incredible. And you can learn a lot from him about how to encourage your people. So,
Lee, I've got a quick question for you just about kind of advice here. My thought process is, hey, there's a lot of stuff out there that we could use, right, Steve? But more communicates, lack of direction, right? So we're thinking, what are the 1 or 2 things that we're going to lay out that have an expiration date on them, so that when they're done, we don't feel like we've now married this model that people are going to expect for us to do in the future. So that's why a 30-day listening plan with Dwell is great, because it's a 1-month commitment. If we like it, let's keep on going. If we don't, let's kick it out. But yeah, Lee, what's your thought on like what the right number of things are to do? I'm thinking regardless of size, I'm learning. So I just love to hear that.
No, I think that's a great question. We started off by actually putting down and creating a social media calendar. We didn't want to be reactive when it came to how we engaged our communities, both especially internally and externally. So any church planter needs to think through, in moments of crisis, what is our communication game plan? And there's two layers of that. There's an internal game plan, there's an external game plan. And so we purposely sat down, began to work on, number one, what is our social media strategy going to look like over the next 30 days? And we literally blocked out every week, and we set up specific times. This is when we're going to post. This is what we're going to post. This is when we're not going to post. And we didn't want to be, again, reactive and just going off a gut instinct. A couple of things that we kind of focused in on were, what are we already doing and offering that we could easily just put into a virtual world and ask for a small commitment. So one of the things, like we said, is, hey, join a virtual community group for the next 4 weeks. Even if you're not in one, now's your time to experience what it could be like in a way that's safe and you're not coming into some stranger's home. Another one is we're offering Bible 101. And we've actually seen that interest grow from people even outside the church, where we're doing on Sunday nights at 8:00. I'm just going to lead an hour conversation. They have to pre-register. They'll get a Zoom link, and we're just doing a basics of what is the Bible and giving them a basic Bible survey. And even I was talking to my neighbors. My neighbor was like, oh, I think we as a family would love to do that. And they're non-churchgoers. They're definitely not believers. And so there's this piqued interest. And so we're trying to take advantage of some of that that's in our world. I think at the same time, you kind of led this conversation earlier, Colin, is that we're really good at throwing information at people, but people have way too much information to be able to digest right now. And so I do think part of we have to talk about community, we have to build relationship, but in that process, figure out ways to have fun too. Engaged families to have fun. We actually did a post a couple days ago where we called it the blanket wars and the harvest blanket wars. And we asked everybody to, with kids, to make a blanket fort in their home and then post a picture of that. And just the interaction that we had both through text and social media was fun. Parents were loving it. Kids were loving it. And so my encouragement is think through all layers of your church. What are we doing discipleship? But that's not just adult focused, which brings me to the first kind of key question I want to ask us from what we're seeing coming on through here. What are you doing for children? What are you doing for youth that is engaging them during this time period? Steve, I'll let you go first.
Really we've adopted a simple church model. And so we're through your groups, how we, resourcing parents in terms of like, hey, here's our children's church worker, our director of children's ministry. She's emailing parents a weekly Bible lesson, like what they would teach basically in our Ignite Kids thing. But hey, this is, and then like a script to go along with it, so here's this and here's the, like you said, lots of information for sure, but really are encouraging our teachers to reach out to the families, touching base with them, see how they're doing. Some Facebook groups that they already have going, kind of leveraging what we have more than trying to add a ton more. So how do we take what we have and put it through avenues by which we can get into their home? And in terms of encouragement, youth, we do have we have our life group ministry, and so getting them together to watch church together. Helping, I have a 12 and a 14-year-old in my house. And so how do we help them connect with their friends, walking through this, as well as challenging some of our upper or senior high students to be like, hey, how can you encourage somebody during this time? And I think we're going to find that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to really consider church planting and ministry and all those kinds of things coming out of this, because they're going to exercise some of their gifts even at a very young age. And so keep that in front of your people as well, to cast that vision to say, who's going to be raised up and laborers sent out into the harvest because of this. So
that's great. And I think if we play it well, this could be a momentum builder for the local church, where we're predicting that our small group signups could double on the other side of all this. And so we're trying to capture that momentum now. So Colin, what are you doing when it comes to children and youth?
Yeah, so for our kids experience, we're creating an online experience for families that's bundled with their church at home experience. So it's an opportunity to keep our lead teachers in front of our K through 5th grade kids. And so that looks like written content and kind of PDFs for kids or families with little ones, realizing their ability to sit and watch something is going to be contingent upon nap times, and they choose service times, right, around nap time and all that. So we don't necessarily want to invest the energy on the kind of media side for the younger kids right now, because we recognize we want to do a few things well. So we want to do K through 5 really well on a video side, and we want to do everything up to that through written forms and tools and resources for families and parents. So, for example, this weekend we watched church at home. At home, my kids stood up and sang the songs with us and listened to Dad teach the message, and gave me input on how I could be better. And then, I don't know if they know the takeaway, but they know how Dad can be better. After that, we shut that down, and then Mom and Dad stood up and sang their songs in their Kids Online event, and we sat down and did the lesson with them. But our key thing there is, how do we get the familiar faces that our K through 5 kids are aware of up in front of them as much as possible? So that's been our model there. And then, our student ministry model, before this was happening, everyone would agree, or most would agree, that student ministry as it was done in the 90s and the early 2000s, the game's changing, right? And I think that this is something that everybody's trying to figure out. So what we're leveraging right now is our group model. We had middle school and high school groups that were meeting throughout the course of the week, and we just uploaded all that stuff into Zoom. And so now those groups are meeting via Zoom. And then we're facilitating fun large group experiences for our students on the same schedule that we used to utilize before. We're just thinking about creative ways to do that. And so, that's been a kind of a big component for us. And like you just said, Lee, I think it's really important for us in this season not to be thinking about survival, but to be thinking about mission. If the idea is, how do we just get by over these next couple of weeks, we probably already lost the game. But if we see this as a unique opportunity to reach people, I think churches will be larger on the back end of this if they're focused on mission.
That's great. And we're similar boat. Our youth met, Sunday night and utilized Zoom, and it went really well. They had a great time interacting, and then split them up into small groups through that as well. And that's one of the nice features if you have the pro account of Zoom. Zoom stock is going through the roof right now, by the way. It gives you the ability to split up. And so that was a fun technological thing that we're able to utilize. And then we're even setting one Wednesday morning at a certain time going, hey, we're going to do a special children's thing midweek to be able to engage the children, just to be an encouragement to them as well. I see one question that came through here, just talking about what I'm using for the Bible survey. Honestly, it was something that I wrote. And so I just put together a 9-week study, and I'd be more than happy to share that outline. You could just email me, and I'll shoot you a quick outline of how I kind of create it and how we have the conversation. Another question that's come through, and again, use the Q&A button if you got a question for the panel. One of the other questions is, how are you accommodating music when it comes to live streaming? Some people are having a little bit of a difficult time when it comes to understanding licensing, that they need in order to be able to stream online. And so would you guys, I'll let you, whoever wants to tackle that first, go for it.
I think, if I could say just a couple things kind of in conjunction with that. One, if you can tap into your budget and do the pay for Zoom service, you should, because it just gives you so many more features. You can record, you can go longer, you can do lots of different things. So make the investment in that. It's going to pay dividends even after this is done. Licensing, there are levels of licensing that's like, I can put my sermons up, but I can't put my songs up. And where we are at in a movie theater, the lighting is terrible. So we weren't even like video streaming our services. And so we didn't put up music. But as soon as we did this, we're like, okay, now we got to get the music license. So there is that. If there's, I do see that, like, music inline streaming, a lot of people getting muted even with CCLI streaming licenses. I would double check to make sure which license you have if you're allowed to do music, because it is a higher cost. So those kinds of things. Even if you have that, you're still experiencing. I'm afraid I can't speak into that. Maybe technical support through CCLI and others might help you there. But I would double check to see which license you have first. before talking about that. So
great, thanks. Colin, anything you would add?
Yeah, I would say the license that you probably were using for your large group gatherings on Sundays is not the license that you need now to go online. And it is worth the expense if in your phase as a church, what you do with music is quality. I would suggest that some people that are planting may need to consider this. If the quality of your music is not something that you want people to experience as their first impression of who you are in a church, just as a church, recognize that how you format your services are really important then, because we were just paying attention to this when it comes to engagement. Different folks, length of engagement is something you can follow on social media, which is really interesting. And one of the things that is key, I think, in this whole situation is making sure that you're giving people online what the best thing is that you have to offer. And so from a music perspective, make sure that you've got what you need, pay the extra money for the licensing, because then you'll have the foot to stand on. But even in a broader sense, as you're thinking about church online and what you're producing in terms of music, make sure it's not something that's going to dissuade people from staying on long enough to hear your message.
Yeah, great thought. I've heard a lot of churches reported that their engagement lasts somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes, and then most of them are dropping off. So I'm assuming that both of you have kind of shortened your experience in order to engage people longer. Is that true?
Yes, we cut. We do put music up, but we don't do as much music, and our messages we're trying to trim up to make sure that we're shorter in that.
Yeah. So our last week our service was 45 minutes. This week our service was 36 minutes.
Yeah. We're aiming for that 40-minute mark ourselves. We only do 2 songs. We do a host role, and then we do an outro, and then the sermon. And so basically it goes from sermon to outro and moves right from there. What advice would you give planters that are in the pre-launch phase? So they haven't actually even gotten to the grand opening standpoint, and it's kind of a panic mode, I get. So what do we do to build momentum and move forward? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I guess it really depends on how close you are to launch, as to what you will do. But I do think that this is going to be a great opportunity, and I think moving forward, I think this is just going to be what we were seeing. What Colin touched on before, like what we're seeing cultural trends moving towards, anyways, is making sure that every one of your launch team members can make a disciple. Like, can they actually lead people to Jesus? Like, do they know a gospel presentation of any kind, whether it be one verse evangelism, which I'm a huge fan of, and our president Scott Rideout says, the most effective tool for evangelism is the one you use. So whatever one you're actually going to use, but make sure that your people, like, even if it's a short video, you can YouTube any of those things. You don't have to do it yourself. Even make sure that people know how to introduce people to Jesus, and then kind of first steps of discipleship. And so if you have a launch team, building into them to influence their neighbors, and if you can put anything out, to talk about who you are as a church, but also the Bible 101, getting people connected to Jesus is the most important thing. So even before your church, like getting connected to Jesus. And so how you can do that, and God will use your church even in pre-launch, and to understand this, like God knew that you were going to be in pre-launch, and he's given you the resources you need to do what he's called you to do. And so I would say equip your launch team to know how to present the gospel, and kind of first steps of helping somebody get on their walk with Jesus, and also kind of see where they are at as well in the middle of all of this.
Great advice, Steve. Colin, anything you would add?
Yeah, 2 thoughts come to mind. The first one is proactively answer the question for all of your launch team. This question that they're all asking. If God wants this church to be planted, why would he put a pause on it? I think you've got to have an answer for that. You've got to cast vision to your people as to why the date that you thought you were going to launch is no longer the date that you're going to launch. And I think you need to get ahead of that. Because if not, people will fill in the gaps with their own answers to that question. That's my first thought. The second one is, focus in on culture. Who do we want to be as a church, and what's the leveraging the moment? So I was thinking about this. If I were planting a church right now, or put in this position, I'd probably pause and pick up a book like The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, and teach our leadership team and our launch team about the rhythms of rest and Sabbath, and build into the culture the key tenets that I want to see happen, so that when we do launch, we can look back at this time and see it as a formative experience. So again, I think the key piece is you got to lead with vision and answering that question: why are we continuing to gather as a launch team? Why are we pushing our launch date? Give me really practical, helpful reasons as to why. Help me understand what God's doing in the midst of this. Pastor and shepherd my soul, and then pick some piece of content and let's put something in our culture that maybe we didn't have yet, that we were going to have to do post-launch, do it pre-launch, and get it in the culture now. Whether or not that's Sabbath rest or the worship culture you want, or the whatever it might be.
And maybe the other thing too that we all need to ask ourselves, which I've been asking myself a lot of, is what does God want to do in me? As a church planter and pre-launch, there's a lot of growth that has happened to me over the last 9 years, that God has stripped away some things, and maybe He wants to strip it away right now, that you can move ahead in it. And so I would ask the question also, not only what you can do for your people, what is God doing in you? And the emotionally healthy leader, anything like that might be a good resource in it. But God's going to want to do something in you in the middle of this as well. And so to make sure that you take time to really go, okay, God, what are you trying to do in me in this moment, is a really important question that we need to ask, because we're all going to be all out there and we want to do stuff to help our people. But the most help we can do is what God's going to do in us.
Great advice, both of you. I think even on the practical side, I would recommend the idea of doing major, large community events is just not going to happen right now. And so if that is the main strategy, the Lord's given you a great season of ministry to be able to figure out new and innovative ways to encourage your launch team and those closest to you to get involved one-on-one, to build key relationships and to share the gospel in those kind of practical ways. And so leverage that. I think, use technology, use Zoom and different things like that to be able to connect as a team on a weekly or even twice a week basis. Spend some time in prayer and lead your people, help them understand how to pray in these times, and just be an encouragement, be a voice of reason. The reality is you're probably going to hit the pause button on some things that you weren't expecting to hit the pause button on, but that's not abnormal, especially in the game of church planting. And so most church planters can share seasons that it may not have been like this, but there are seasons in church ministry in which God has just said, nope, we're not going to do that right now. And I need you to look at this differently. And they're gifts. They don't feel like it at the time, but in the long run, they are a gift to who we are and who we're becoming. So I hope that is helpful. Last question here is, finances are not going to be nearly as predictable moving forward when it comes to the near future in the life of a church, and specifically this hurts a church plant as well. What is some practical advice you give church planters on just navigating the new financial scene when it comes to their church, their pay, maybe they're still living on outside support, all those type of things? Colin, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I think if you're leaning into this conversation right now, either now or later on, and you're feeling the pinch and the pressure of finances, I think a starting point would be, hey, it's okay to grieve it. It's okay to lament it. It's okay to mourn it. It's okay to bring your frustrations to God and know that He's big enough to take care of it. I think there's a lot of great opportunity in front of us, but I think as leaders, we have an opportunity to model for our people what many of them are going to experience, which is the negative implications of a potentially significant economic downturn. So I think it's remembering that there are people in our congregations that are walking through this as well. And how we model for them that process is important. And I think being vulnerable about where we are in that process, that's appropriate vulnerability is good as well. And then you've got to model giving first. I think if you're going to be an organizational leader, you've got to model giving first for the rest of your people. So that's kind of the personal side I would speak to, Lee. And then I think organizationally, some things to consider and think about are what is essential, what is a luxury, and how am I going to appropriately communicate those realities to the people that are on my team. So for us, what that looks like is we've got not just a 90-day, but between now and the end of 2020, we are adapting our budget to reflect the new financial realities. And we're communicating that information to those, not only those that it impacts, but to our collective team sooner than later. We want to be in a situation and circumstance where what seems like a scenario we hope we never find ourselves in is the baseline that people understand. So that way there can be gratitude for those that are engaged and urgency for those that are a part of our team. So I think you got to get ahead of it. You got to have a plan, and it's got to be one that's communicated appropriately.
Great. Thanks, Colin. Steve.
Yeah, I think really having to take a hard look at it. You can't just bury your head in the sand and pretend like it's not real. I mean, looking at the numbers, giving is substantially down for us as a church. That's just reality. And what I've had to go back to in the middle of all of this is my calling, my call to this. Am I called to lead through this? And that's really what honestly is sustaining me emotionally in this time, is that I'm called to this. And so I need to find a way, talking with, we planted a church out of our church in September, and just talking to him about the emotional realities of what is happening and what's going on. Does it mean, am I willing to go bivocational? I am, if that's what I need to do, because I'm called to this. And that's what I think we all just got, am I called to this? And I think the practical things that Colin set out, readjusting the budget, I think this is a great way to start communicating to people about budgets, especially if they're a church folk that came in, because it's like, it's not quite in the inerrancy of scripture, but we voted on it. So, right. I mean, and so I think, realizing that, saying, hey, we're going to come out with a new budgetary plan to kind of adjust to this. Would you give to it? And just kind of walking people through that, and then just, addressing the elephant in the room, but doing so in a non-desperate way. Just going, these are realities. Ministry costs money. For the guy who feels stuck in the, we had all these events, we were going to go serve the community, and now budget is tight. You're going to have to define reality for everybody, to say that I know this is what we planned, but this is what is real. So given what is real, what are we going to do with what is real? And here's 2 or 3, avenues by which we're going to do it. And you're going to hopefully spur people on to love and good deeds in the middle of all of this. But yeah, managing expectations. This is not what any of us expected. And our church is going to look different than what we thought it was going to look like. And like Colin said, mourn it if you need to, lament it. But then also go, okay, God, now that I'm broken before you, what do you have in this? And I'm called to this. I really do feel like I'm called to this. So, defining the reality and adjusting as you need to. So.
Yeah, and that's great advice, both of you. And the reality is we will have to make adjustments. And so just figure out based on what your timeline is and play some different scenarios. So, hey, this would be great if we were able to sustain this. It won't probably be where you started the year. And so just make that adjustment. And then, worst case scenario, here's our game plan moving forward. But I think it's unforeseen exactly what the total economic challenge that this is going to create for our economy just as a whole is we just don't know. One other question here we had is our launch date as a church planner is set for September 13th. Do you think we should postpone? My personal advice right now is don't make that decision yet. I think it's still too early to tell. I don't think you need to make that decision until June. And then I think you'll have a better understanding of where you're at and what needs to go. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you to Steve. Thank you for Colin for coming in and just sharing your experience and kind of what you're doing right now. And for all those that listen, we will be making this available. So we did record this, and we'll be sharing this through social media as well. And I'd encourage you to go ahead and pass this along to anybody out there that you think this would be helpful to. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, everybody. And until next time, hang in there. The Lord is in control, and He is good, and trust in that. So thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Lee.